Greed is an insatiable desire for more. This can be for more money or more material things, but it can also be experienced for non-material things such as friendships, status, or food, for example. So it's a quite broad definition. Greed also has a lot of negative aspects, both for society as a whole as for the individual themselves. So on the societal level, greed has often been linked to fraud and scandals, and it's often been named as the root cause of the financial crisis. And indeed, it turns out that greedy people tend to engage in immoral behavior more often and are also more likely to be corrupt. And on the individual level, greed leads to things like lower satisfaction with life, lower well-being, different kinds of friendships, so often shorter friendships or shorter romantic relationships, and sometimes to more consumer debts. Greed has a very negative connotation, but it also has some positive aspects. So evolutionary theorists, for example, argue that in times of scarcity, it's beneficial for your survival chances to be greedy, because if you hoard more and you then have more, you have a higher chance of survival. Economists also say that greed is something good. So they argue that greed stimulates economic growth. So for example, someone who is greedy is much more creative and then thinks of a new company, then hires people, grows the company, hires more people, and in that way stimulates economic growth. And for the individual, we found that greed leads to a higher income. So that's also positive for the greedy person. In our study, we found a few things. So we looked at first at economic aspects, so things like salary. And there we found that greedy people have a higher household income than non-greedy people. Then we looked at evolutionary aspects. So there we found a few things. We found that greedy people have fewer biological children. They have shorter romantic relationships, but they have more sex partners. On the psychological aspect, we looked at satisfaction with life, and there we found that greedy people have a lower satisfaction with life. And this lower satisfaction with life can have a few reasons. So, for example, greedy people might be unhappy because they have worse relationships, for example, because another study found that they tend to have worse friendships and have more feelings of loneliness. So that can result in a lower satisfaction with life. But also the inherent part of greed can also result in a lower satisfaction with life, because greedy people, they always want more and they're never satisfied with what they have. And this dissatisfaction can make them unhappy.